What you are about to watch is not like other Mario Kart 8 tier lists you have seen. This comes from a perspective of prioritizing gameplay over anything else, from someone that has 650 hours in the game, 42,000 VR, and someone who has put basically everything into Mario Kart for the last 2 years of his life. Because of this, I am the only one qualified to talk on this topic, and I will fight anyone who thinks otherwise. I do not play competitively, but I have dabbled in it for a very short amount of time, and so I am very well knowledgeable in most of what there is to know about Mario Kart 8. Because of this, I will not be considering things such as aesthetic appeal, music, or anything that doesn't really contribute directly to gameplay. I will be judging things based off of how a track feels to drive, what the average race looks like, shortcuts and comeback potential they house, and generally just how well they serve the game positively from a gameplay perspective. And it's also worth noting that I used to hate Mario Kart 8, and I only was willing to give the game a second chance when the first wave of Switch DLC came out. And that is what particularly swayed my view of Mario Kart 8 in believing that it actually is a fun game. So all of that in mind, let's get started! So, let us get into all of it. Anyone who knows me knows that I do not have a favorable opinion of the base game tracks. And to start off our list, we have Mario Kart Stadium. Mario Kart Stadium is a very weak starter. It's probably the most, I might call it the most boring starter stage in the game. It has a severe problem where it's impossible to escape out of a pack. And more than anything, it has like an especially just weird skill check of a shortcut where it's like you can do it shroomless, but like only through mechanics that don't feel like at all intuitive to learn. Not beginner friendly, not fun to play as someone who's good at the game. It doesn't really have anything going for it, but I don't have an absolute utter hate for it, so I guess for that reason I'll keep it in top of F tier. As going alongside it is going to be Water Park. I don't really like Water Park very meaningfully. I don't have very much to say on it. Water Park is the first of very many tracks that I feel like have a very major problem in that it doesn't, Mario Kart 8's physics engine has this trait where anytime you are tricking into water, it is better for you not to trick and instead to just be holding a drift into that water, and that's always been a really weird just nuance of the physics engine. And because of that, like it never feels right. It, like, even after all the hours I put into it, it's a line that just never feels right, and I feel like Water Park in my head is kind of the poster child of that problem. Oh my god, I've been talking about this one jump for literally a minute and 30 seconds. Quick, I need to find something to increase my retention. Did you know that the carousels play Mario 64 music? And it's just like, I don't have anything positive to say about it, really. There's not anything that stands out to me. I'm not going to, like, be upset to play a race on this track, but I'm not gonna have fun. Now, Sweet Sweet Canyon, I'm debating on whether I want to put this one in D tier or C tier. As I mentioned before, I mentioned at the very beginning, base 8 tracks do not do crap for me. I hate to start off as negative as I am, but genuinely speaking, Sweet Sweet Canyon F tier worthy. Does it have anything that saves it for me? The donut shortcut can only carry it so far, but it's just such a long track that I feel like items don't matter. Front runs just kind of happen. There's nothing that you can really do about it. I don't think I can justify. I'll put it in D tier for now, and I could even see myself moving Mario Kart Stadium down with it into F tier later. Now, Thwomp Ruins is a decent track. All around pretty good. I think I'll keep it in B tier for now. I love how the Mushroom Cup is super meh, and Thwomp Ruins comes along and, like, saves the whole thing. I wouldn't say it does enough to save the whole thing. It has what I call Mario Kart 8 syndrome, which is just that it doesn't have nearly enough to spice it up, and it just plays it very safe. We're into Mario Circuit now, and there's a reason I unlovingly refer to this track as Morbius, because it is just a Mobius strip, and I hate it enough to compare it to Morbius. And I think that is a sign that it's not a sign of a good track there, lads. That's not. if you're being compared to Morbius for any reason, that's a sign that you're doing something very wrong. But also, it's a Mobius strip, and that's literally all I have to say about it. There's nothing fun about it. It's like Toad's Turnpike, but if Toad's Turnpike had like 1 or 2 meaningful grass cuts, it's a low bar to cross, but I guess it crosses that, and it doesn't save it from F tier. Toad Harbor. First track that probably gets A tier, I think. Toad Harbor, it's basic, and I think if it weren't for the DLC tracks to make me appreciate some of the more basic ones, I probably wouldn't have nearly as strong of feelings about it, but it's one of the only bass tracks that I like really enjoy. It's a little bit basic, but like I feel like it's very fun to master the lines on Toad Harbor. Driving on the area right after like the shopping section, where you have the split path, learning how to do that line is very satisfying because it really, I feel like Toad Harbor is the perfect track for demonstrating that you shouldn't approach every single situation exactly the way the game expects you to, because you have that ramp that goes to that section, and it's the faster section, absolutely, but 9 out of 10 times I find that it's not worth tricking off of it, and that feels a lot better to drift into it. And I feel like that is a very good poster child for describing what you can do with the track and like be able to use the engine in creative ways to where just because the game suggests an option with its track design, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best way to do it. And I feel like Toad Harbor, particularly when you learn that, it feels much more intuitive in learning the best routes as opposed to Water Park. Twisted Mansion is kind of my least favorite track. I understand this is a particularly biased perspective. I don't think Twisted Mansion is a terrible track, but there's a reason that I kind of have an in-joke about the fact that I am cursed whenever I enter this track. And that is because every race I play on this, it feels like I either win by doing pretty much nothing that deserves it, or I will put in every single ounce of work and I will get like second or third to last. It just feels like no matter what I do on this track, nothing matters. And I can't even like point to like a specific flaw I have with it. I can't say that, oh, items matter too much on this track or items don't matter enough on this track. No, I just can't get a read on this damn track, and it never feels quite right. And so I kind of put all of my problems of Twisted Mansion into the scapegoat of just it's cursed. There's a curse there. That's but like in a genuine sense, even outside of just the whole curse in joke, I just don't like the track. I don't like driving it. It doesn't ever really like feel good. Shy Guy Falls. I think this is. Oh my! I hope he can get back up. Do I like Shy Guy Falls? No. I think Shy Guy Falls is the first unparsable conglomerate of okay. A lot of people really like Shy Guy Falls. I can appreciate it. It just doesn't succeed in separating itself from the pack of all of the tracks that I just don't have an opinion on. It has some cool things about it, like the set piece is nice. It's not really like super crazy with anything in particular. It's just kind of it has a grass cut. It's daring enough to have a shortcut that's a little bit difficult. And it's just like it has its things going for it. I don't personally love it. So I guess that does take us to Sunshine Airport. But on that note, Sunshine Airport is one of my least favorite tracks again. I feel like my F tier is getting a little bit overfilled, and I don't necessarily know how much it deserves that, but I look at what's in my F tier, and I think every one of these tracks deserves it. Sunshine Airport, I never really cared for the set piece of it all that much. I kind of felt like Sunshine Airport, when I got into the game more meaningfully, I always felt like Sunshine Airport had potential to win me over with it over time, but the more I've played it, the more I've kind of disliked it. Sunshine Airport, in my head, is the definitive track where you front run the entire thing. If you have one skilled player in the lobby and a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, the skilled player wins 100% of the time, like without any leniency. It's just like a weird thing where it's just like Sunshine Airport just kind of encourages a lot of infighting in the middle pack, and then the people who know what they're doing just kind of have the most uninteractive, boring races imaginable. I don't want to hate this track, but it's just, anytime it shows up, I just think of that, and it's like it happens every time, like pretty much consistently. And it's just like I could see myself really loving it, but it just has a bunch of just weird nuances. I like doing something like the low trick at the very end. It's also just like a really weird obstacle, just the plane in the middle of the track. There's like a weird grass cut that's not even like used. It's just like it wants to be something, I can tell, but it doesn't succeed, and that makes me sad. Dolphin Shouls is an interesting one, because this is one of the only tracks that used to be in this unparsable conglomerate of okay. But over time, I've grown on it, and I think that I do like it. I think I can say that I do feel lukewarm feelings towards it. And this is for, I was talking earlier about how one of my major problems with the Mario Kart 8 engine is that there are some techniques that are just not intuitive to learn. One of the biggest one that I always point to being drifting into water sections rather than tricking into them. And I feel like Dolphin Shoals, at first glance, that first section you see, where you have those rings, it kind of intuits you towards wanting to trick off of them. But I feel like it makes up for it in the fact that it has a sort of scapegoat for this, which is the existence of low tricks. And I feel like as a Mario Kart Wii player, it's fairly easy to intuit that airtime is a bad thing in most cases. And I feel like Dolphin Shoals almost makes the weird thing that I keep complaining about a little bit acceptable, because it kind of teaches in some ways that you can get airtime without it being a bad thing. And low tricks, I think, can do a lot of good for that. And I feel like learning how to trick off of the ramps in like a sideways manner on Dolphin Shoals is a very satisfying skill. Otherwise, it does kind of run into Mario Kart 8 syndrome, where it just doesn't have any meaningful shortcuts where it feels like you can really make an impact on a race that you don't already have a lead in. And it's like, it's good. I like Dolphin Shouls. I think I've grown to be lukewarm on it. Unlike Electrodrome, which is firmly in C tier. I don't hate it, but I really don't ever feel like picking it either. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than the age-old saying from the Golden Brawler streams that is the only track in all of Mario Kart to be one word long, unless you count battle tracks like Skyscraper, in which case I would say you are a petty bitch. Otherwise, it's fine, but it's so heavily designed around Mario Kart 8's gimmick of anti-gravity that it's just doesn't really lead to meaningful track design in so many places. And if you were to look at it from a third-person perspective, like, if you were to look at the track using noclip.website, it would look really fun, but then you actually drive it and you start to see what the problem is. And that is that Mario Kart 8 is so good at implementing its anti-gravity mechanics that doesn't even really feel like you're doing anything interesting. Like, the track is technically curving, but not in a way that really affects the gameplay in any meaningful capacity. Otherwise, I really don't know what you could want from me. Do you want me to point out the fact that it's Electrodrome and not Electrodome like every other YouTuber has? She electro on my dome until I forget how to spell. No, but seriously, I otherwise don't really know what else I can say on this track, because there's just so little going on in terms of race variety that I just kind of don't have much to say on it. It's just kind of in the list of tracks that exists, I guess. Mario Kart 8 is at its most fun when you're always doing something. And in a game where straightaways are as uninteractive as they could be, Electrodrome really doesn't have you doing something very much of the time. But again, it doesn't really do anything wrong. So Mount Wario is definitely an S tier, and pre-Wii U DLC may have actually been the only track in Mario Kart 8 that I actually liked. Because as stated in the intro, I used to be like an extremely massive Mario Kart 8 hater, and I only really came around on that once the Switch got DLC, and well, I'm really grateful for the fact that that happened, because the Switch DLC, it taught me to love again. And Mount Wario has always been an aspect that I like. None of my competitive knowledge has ruined it for me, even though it's like weirdly faster to take the stream shortcut without one than it is to go the other route. That's not like a huge deal. It's a solid track. It's fun all the way around. I think there's just a weird pattern of just any like mountainous snowy track is just gonna end up being really good. I don't know why that pattern is, but I think they just tend to be very inspired, and I guess, you know what, I guess that's not that weird of a thing to have that be the case, because I feel like they are based off of the act of like skiing usually, or something along those lines, and as a result, a lot of like skiing mountains are kind of formatted in a way that they are fun to go down. I think that I might have had Mount Wario in my top 10, but I don't know. And because of the fact that I don't know, until dethroned, Mount Wario can sit in top 10. I don't think it'll stay there, but it can sit there for the time being and have fun with it. Cloudtop Cruise. Cloudtop Cruise, I'll at least give the benefit of the doubt. It has some sections that are pretty fun, but it has a lot of the same problems of having ideas but not having them matter in any meaningful capacity. It's another keystone member of the Mario Kart 8 syndrome, where it's just like there's not a single damn shortcut on this track. It's very straightforward with how you race it. The glider section is so freaking long, despite the fact that there's boost panels there to make it faster. It just doesn't go anywhere. The leaf shortcut's pretty fun though, but like there's so many of those kinds of shortcuts in Mario Kart 8 already that it's like it doesn't offer anything, and it just results in this really long-winded thing where it's like it just doesn't it doesn't feel like it matters in any grand scheme of things. Oh wait, are you talking shit on Bonedry Dunes? Chat, are you talking shit on Bonedry Dunes? Y'all? The fuck is wrong with you? Okay, let me explain myself. This is a good track. I'm not gonna pretend it's perfect. It's definitely very much not perfect. It has a lot of flaws, but it's one of the few Mario Kart 8 tracks that actually has some degree of challenge to offer you. I feel like Bonedry Dunes can result in some genuinely just chaotic races that it's fun to try to wrangle the controls of Bonedry Dunes. It's a very hectic track that I feel like offers a lot of very interesting races. Like, look at how satisfying that is. With how tight the road gets there. If I hit him, I hit him. If I don't care. I don't want to take this moment away from Golden Brawler, but I don't want to have the Super Horn anymore. That was really the whole thought process there. Oh my god! How can you see a race that close and say this is a bad track? What is wrong with people? This track is so good! What the hell? Are you kidding me? I don't get people. I genuinely don't get people. Like, you're not gonna see a race like that on Cloudtop Cruise, I'll tell you that much. It does have a very major flaw though, and that flaw might be enough for me to bring it down to B tier, and that is just the fact that it's inherently unbalanced, and the fact that it's a split path track that one route is just objectively better than the other, and by a pretty large milestone too. And I feel like that is a flaw that I do in my head still consider, even if I do like driving the lines of it a lot. And I feel like this is also a track that's very highly contestable, because I feel like it very much depends on the combo you run, where if you can get a hang of Bonedry Dunes, it's extremely satisfying, but if you can't, it just feels miserable. It's a challenging track that finds a way to be challenging in a way that's not just through use of having expert shortcuts or anything like that, and it doesn't do so in the way that it feels cheap, similar to like a Wario Stadium. It's a good track that I feel like that lends itself well to an experienced lobby. It's a bit of a noob trap though, and for that I understand it can be a bit hard to forgive. It takes a fair amount of skill to drive and has a few other positives to it. I like the set play at the end. Yeah, it's a surprisingly, like, I don't know why people call it boring. The freaking giant dry Bowser skull it's a very memorable set piece in my head, and I don't know why other people seem to hate it so much. Unlike Bowser's Castle, we've seen a giant mechanical Bowser interacting with the track so many times, and this track does nothing but sit in the middle for me. But TJ, this giant mechanical Bowser is made of lava, not metal. Alright, smartass, how is metal made then? That's right, from smelting molten rock, which is lava. It's just like, I don't have anything to say about this one. I think I like it more than most of the other middle of the road stuff. I feel like there's a more likely chance I would pick Bowser Castle. I feel like it has a lot of ideas from Wii in mind, but I feel like Wii's has an identity in like how each turn is taken, where I feel like 8 Bowser's Castle can be described as them taking like a general structure of like a 64 Bowser Castle, but then you just inject a bunch of anti-grav into it, and that tends to make what should be like a really tight corridor feeling, where there's a really menacing feeling, to just kind of feeling like just this weird floatiness to it that I just don't really like. I will say though, the dirt shortcut at the dirt shortcut at the very end of Bowser's Castle does make this a bit of a highlight for me, because I've had a lot of incredibly funny moments happen on that last stretch where it seems like, okay, this is where a race is made or broken. Like, there's no problem. I don't have a problem with Bowser Castle. It just has the same problem that most Mario Kart 8 tracks have, which is that it focuses way too hard on anti-grav gimmick. It doesn't really implement enough of an identity outside of that. It plays okay, but nothing special. There's a reason why I coined the term Mario Kart 8 syndrome, which is that this is a thing that happens. Because what makes a track memorable to me is how it can create a dynamic with its racers, and I feel like one of the easiest ways to do that I think I oversold how important it actually is the presence of shortcuts, and Mario Kart 8 in particular does not like having tracks that have shortcuts. So that leads us to 8 Rainbow Road, and what I have always said about 8 Rainbow Road is that it is a good track, but it is not a good Rainbow Road. It kind of has that same sort of Mario Kart 8 syndrome where it's like the tracks are excessively wide, just kind of like really floaty for no reason, and like there's like just airy, doesn't really feel like there's much purpose to them. The space station is, I've never been a fan of incorporating non-Rainbow Road elements into Rainbow Road. So the main two that come to mind are 7 and 8, where they have these like sort of real life space settings that I don't really like as much. Like I don't like having these space stations, not like having these planets. I feel like the Rainbow Road should be about the Rainbow Road and not these like weird gimmick set pieces that are there in between. So I talk about that and how that makes it a less or good Rainbow Road, because I feel like a Rainbow Road should be narrow, challenging, and just overall this unforgettable journey through this place that couldn't possibly even exist. And Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road does exactly none of that. But why do I have it in A tier?
Well, that's because I feel like if this track didn't try to be a Rainbow Road, no one would really have a problem with it. If this track branded itself as Satellite Speedway, or some other name like that, I don't think anyone would have a problem with this track at all. Unlike a certain track that I'll get to later. And that's because I feel like Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is actually one of the more skill-based tracks in the game. In terms of lines, anyway. I say in terms of lines because Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is one of the funny tracks where there is a item box right before a cannon section. And if you know anything about how Mario Kart 8 handles items, if you let someone in first place go through that cannon, wait like a couple seconds for them to go through that cannon and build all that distance away from you, the items you get are fucking nutty. It is just kind of a funny quirk that I don't mind, and I think it doesn't dampen my enjoyment for it, but it could definitely be seen as a flaw. It's not sandbagging. It's not sandbagging. Very distinctly different thing. Sandbagging is when you intentionally don't race at all for the sake of getting the exact items you want at the first set of item boxes. In the case of something like this, it's more so that it just tends to balance towards giving you more powerful items than is necessarily exploiting the fact that there's a lot of shortcuts to abuse. It's just that it's just a thing that happens. 8 Rainbow Road just gives everyone a lot of power items. That's just what happens. I feel like I have pretty good dynamic race on Rainbow Road, and I've not even gotten to the fact that Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is probably the only base Mario Kart 8 track that has an expert shortcut, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, my definition of an expert shortcut is one where you like meaningfully cross some like very major gap or have like a major risk while you're taking it. I guess what I call expert shortcuts are usually ones that are unintended by the developer. The kind of shortcut that feels like a big deal to learn about and an even bigger deal to actually pull off. And I feel like this is one of the main base 8 track, this is the only like base 8 track I can think of that has that kind of thing in it. Particularly with the fact that there's the whole path switching thing you can do. And even on top of that, I feel like Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is a track that really is interesting to see how lines can affect it, because I feel like Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is a track where you can really feel different people's lines. It's a very good track. I really like 8 Rainbow Road. It's a very standout example of one of the few tracks that I think I remember fondly when I think of Mario Kart 8. And that concludes the first part of my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe track tier list. Did you agree? Is there some kind of really secret technique on Sweet Sweet Canyon that I didn't know about? Did you perhaps want to strangle me for my thoughts on Bonedry Dunes? Or maybe I was the first person to have ever said anything correct about Mario Kart tracks and you want to tell me about that. Whatever your thoughts may be, I would love if you left a comment below, because I love talking Mario Kart. And be sure to stick around for next time when I talk about the Wii U retro tracks. So yeah.